Let me tell you about something happening right now. January 8, 2026, yesterday. Iran shut down the internet. Nationwide, complete blackout, telephone lines, social media, everything. Why? Because protests are spreading. Hundreds of thousands, more than 100 cities, and government does not want you to see. President Pezeshkian said, people have constitutional right to peaceful protest. Said, I recognize legitimate demands. Said, I will listen. Then government cut internet, imported 800 Iraqi militia members, prepared for deadly force, and started killing. This is what I want to talk about. Not just Iran protests, but this specific operation, this perfect ideological structure, where government recognizes your right to protest, while preparing to kill you where your demands are legitimate, but internet must be cut so no one sees response, where protest is constitutional, but foreign militias are imported because Iranian police might refuse to shoot. This is the legitimate protest you cannot see, the recognized rights you cannot exercise, the listening government that answers with bullets. Let me show you how this works, how ideology operates here, how recognition becomes preparation for violence. First, how protests started. December 28, 2025, Grand Bazaar in Tehran, merchants close shops, shopkeepers strike, bazaris refuse to work. This is crucial detail. This is not students, not activists, not opposition. This is bazaris, the merchant class, traditionally regime supporters. In Iran history, bazaris are kingmakers, are power base. When Shah fell in 1979, bazaris supported Khomeini. When Islamic Republic needed economic support, bazaris provided. When regime needed legitimacy, bazaris gave. Now bazaris are closing shops, are striking, are protesting. Why? Because Iranian rial collapsed, lost 50% of value, inflation exploding, unemployment at 7.5%, cooking oil doubled in price, basic goods unavailable, economic crisis. But this is not first economic crisis. Iran has had sanctions, has had inflation, has had currency collapse before. Why now? Why bazaris now? Because bazaris are not ideological, are not political, are pragmatic. They support regime when regime protects business, when regime ensures stability, when regime allows them to profit. But now, business is impossible, imports are blocked, currency is worthless, customers cannot afford goods. Profit has disappeared. So bazaris close shops, not because they oppose Islam, not because they want democracy, but because they cannot survive. Cannot do business, cannot function. Economic crisis becomes political protest through simple mechanism. Those who benefited from system can no longer benefit. Therefore, strike. And here is crucial point. When your supporters abandon you, you are in trouble. Real trouble. Existential trouble. Government can handle opposition, can suppress activists, can arrest students, can jail dissidents. This is normal. This is expected. This is what authoritarian regimes do. But when base abandons you, when loyalists strike, when supporters close shops, this is different. This is dangerous because this signals not just opposition, signals systemic failure, signals that regime cannot deliver even to those who support it, cannot protect even those who are loyal. Second, how protests spread from bazaar to streets, from economic to political, from Tehran to 100 cities. Initial chant, we revolt due to hunger. This is economic. This is about prices, about food, about survival, but quickly transforms, becomes death to the dictator, becomes neither Gaza nor Lebanon, my life for Iran becomes political, becomes about regime. This transformation is crucial. This is what government fears, not economic protest. Economic protest can be managed, can be addressed with subsidies, with price controls, with economic policy. But political protest, protest against regime itself, against supreme leader, against system, this cannot be managed, this must be crushed. And transformation happens fast, within days. Shopkeepers striking about prices become crowds chanting against Khamenei. Why this transformation? Because economic crisis reveals political structure. People realize problem is not just prices. Problem is system that creates prices. Problem is regime that cannot govern. Pezeshkian was elected in 2024. Promised economic reform, promised to lift internet censorship, promised good governance. 1 year later, real collapsed. Internet still censored, electricity cuts, water cuts, promises broken. So Gen Z students who voted for Pezeshkian, who believed in reform, now chant death to dictator, because reform failed, because system cannot be reformed. This is classic revolutionary moment. When those who believed in change through system realize system cannot change. Third, government response. And here is where ideology becomes visible, where contradictions are exposed. Pezeshkian says, I recognize constitutional right to peaceful protest. I will meet with protest representatives. I understand legitimate demands. This is recognition. This is acknowledgement. This is government saying your concerns are valid. Khamenei, supreme leader, says for first time, economic crisis is not just sanctions, is also governance failure, is our... This is unprecedented. This is regime admitting failure. Admitting that problem is not just foreign pressure, is internal. So government recognizes protests are legitimate, recognizes demands are valid, recognizes failure is real. Then what happens? Then government prepares for violence. Chief Justice Mosni Eye says, no leniency for rioters. Anyone who creates insecurity will face consequences. Rioters work with United States and Israel are enemies. Notice transformation. Protesters become rioters. Legitimate demands become insecurity. Constitutional rights become treason. Then government cuts internet. Nationwide, complete blackout. NetBlock's cybersecurity watchdog says national blackouts tend to be regime's go-to strategy when deadly force is about to get used. Goal is to prevent spread of news, limit international scrutiny. Internet blackout is not hiding violence, is announcing violence, is saying we are about to kill and we do not want you to see. Then government imports Iraqi militias, 800 members, Kataib Hezbollah, Harakat al-Nujaba, Sayyid al-Shuhada, foreign fighters, Shia militias from Iraq. Official cover, pilgrimage to holy sites, visiting Imam Reza in Mashhad. Religious tourism, reality, transported to Ahvaz military base, then deployed to protest cities, to suppress demonstrations. Why import foreign militias? Iran international report concerned that Iranian police might not follow orders to attack unarmed ordinary people, or forces are insufficient to stop protests in more than 100 cities. Do you see this? Do you see what this reveals? Government cannot trust own police, cannot trust Iranian security forces to shoot Iranian citizens, so imports foreigners, imports Iraqis, who do not speak Farsi, who are not Iranian, who have no connection to protesters, who will follow orders. This is admission, this is confession that even regime plans is so extreme that even regime's own forces might refuse. Fourth, the death toll. At least 36 people killed. Some reports say 42,000 arrested. 5 security personnel also dead. But here is crucial detail. Deaths are not just from street clashes, are from targeted operations. In Malekshahhi, Ilam province, protesters gather at military base entrance. Security forces open fire. Live ammunition. Multiple people killed. Graphic videos show people being sprayed with bullets, falling, fleeing, wounded, taken to Imam Khomeini Hospital in Ilam city. Then what happens? Security forces raid hospital, storm into hospital, root out wounded protesters, arrest them from hospital beds. Amnesty International says this violates international law, shows how far Iranian authorities willing to go to cross dissent. Raiding hospital, arresting wounded, this is not controlling riots. This is hunting people. This is making clear no sanctuary, no safety, no escape. Even if you are shot, even if you are wounded, even if you are in hospital, we will find you, we'll arrest you, we'll finish you. Fifth, Trump's threat. And here is where external becomes internal, where foreign becomes domestic. Trump says, if Iran kills protesters, United States will hit them very hard. We are locked and loaded, ready to act. This is humanitarian threat. This is protection offer. This is, we will rescue protesters if regime kills them. But look at effect. Look at how regime uses this. Chief Justice says rioters work with United States and Israel, are operating in line with foreign enemies. Trump's threat becomes proof, becomes evidence, becomes justification. Look, protesters have foreign support, foreign backing, are part of foreign plot. Therefore, crackdown is not suppressing legitimate protest, is defending against foreign intervention, is protecting sovereignty, is patriotic. This is perfect ideological operation. External threat transforms internal dissent into treason. Foreign support transforms legitimate demands into conspiracy. And Trump's threat makes crackdown easier, makes violence more justified, makes killing protesters into defense of nation. Regime says, see, United States threatens us, United States wants regime change. Therefore, protests are not about economy, are about imperialism. Every protester becomes CIA agent. Every demand becomes American plot. Every chant becomes treason. Sixth, the split narrative, and here is most revealing operation, most visible contradiction. Khamenei and Pezeshkian say economic crisis is our fault, is governance failure, is not just sanctions. This is admission. This is taking responsibility. This is we failed. We understand. We will listen. Security establishment says protests are foreign plot, are incited by United States and Israel, are attempted regime change. This is conspiracy. This is external blame. This is not our fault. Foreign enemies. Both narratives exist simultaneously. Both are official. Both are true. And this creates confusion, because if crisis is governance failure, then protests are legitimate, are justified, are understandable. But if protests are foreign plot, then protesters are enemies, are traitors, must be crushed. Which is true? Which narrative applies? Which interpretation is correct? Both. And this is genius. This is how authoritarian power works. Multiple contradictory narratives, each for different audience, each serving different function. For international community, we recognize failures. We understand concerns. We are listening. For security forces, this is foreign plot. This is existential threat. Use violence. For domestic audience, economic problems are real, but protests are manipulated. Both things are, this way regime can be both reasonable and ruthless, both reformist and repressive, both listening and killing. Recognition does not prevent crackdown. Admission does not stop violence. Understanding does not mean mercy. Seventh, legitimate protest. You cannot see. This is the formula. This is the perfected operation. We recognize your right to protest, but we cut internet, so no one can see. We understand your demands are legitimate, but we import foreign militias to kill you. We admit governance failure, but we call you foreign agents to justify violence. We will listen to representatives, but we raid hospitals to arrest wounded. We respect constitutional rights, but we prepare deadly force under cover of blackout. Every recognition is paired with preparation for violence. Every admission is cover for crackdown. Every respect for rights is announcement of rights suspension. This is not contradiction, this is not hypocrisy, this is system. This is how power acknowledges dissent while crushing it. The government says your protest is legitimate and we will kill you for protesting. Both statements are official, both are true. You have right to peaceful assembly and we will shoot you if you assemble. Constitutional right and deadly force, coexisting perfectly. 8, internet blackout as announcement, not as hiding. Standard interpretation, government cuts internet to hide violence, to prevent documentation, to stop world from seeing. But think deeper. Everyone knows what internet blackout means. NetBlocks announces it, media reports it, world understands. National blackout means deadly force about to be used. This is public knowledge, is not secret. So government is not hiding violence, is announcing it, is saying to protesters, we are about to use deadly force. Internet blackout is warning. And saying to international community, we are about to suppress protests violently. And we do not care if you know. We are doing it anyway. This is power operating openly, not through deception, through demonstration, through showing we can do this. We will do this. And you cannot stop us. Internet blackout is not concealment, is declaration of violence, of intent, of power. And for protesters, internet blackout is message. You are alone, cannot coordinate, cannot communicate, cannot document, cannot call for help. We have isolated you. Now we will destroy you. 9th, what this reveals about protest impossibility, about legitimate dissent that cannot exist. System says you can protest, this is constitution, this is right. But economic crisis makes survival impossible. So people protest. System says your demands are legitimate. Economic governance failed. We understand. But understanding does not mean change. Recognition does not mean reform. Admission does not mean solution. System says protest peacefully within constitutional framework. But when you protest peacefully, internet is cut, militias are imported, deadly force is prepared. And when violence happens, when protesters are killed, system says you were not peaceful, you were rioters, you were working with foreign enemies. Evidence, Trump threatened us, therefore protests are foreign plot, therefore violence is justified. This is perfect trap, perfect impossibility. If you do not protest, you starve, because economic crisis makes survival impossible. If you do protest, you are killed. Because protest is treated as treason. If you protest peacefully, you are still killed. Because peaceful protest is redefined as riot. If you accept violence against you, system says this proves you were violent, proves you were threat. If foreign power supports you, this proves you are a foreign agent, justifies crackdown. If no foreign power supports you, you are abandoned, alone, will be crushed without international pressure. Every option leads to same outcome. Every choice ends in violence. Every path is blocked. This is systemic impossibility, where legitimate protest is recognized and crushed, where constitutional rights exist and are suspended, where demands are understood and ignored. 10th, Iraqi militias as ultimate admission, as final confession. Government cannot trust own security forces to kill own people. This is devastating admission. Iranian police might refuse orders, might not shoot unarmed protesters, might not attack citizens. So government imports foreigners. This reveals everything. Reveals that government knows violence is wrong, knows that even loyal forces might refuse, knows that Iranians will not kill Iranians. So brings in people who are not Iranian, who do not understand language, who have no connection to protesters, who will follow orders without hesitation. This is government saying our own forces have conscience, so we need forces without conscience, need forces who will kill without questioning. And official cover is religious tourism, pilgrimage, holy sites, using religion to cover violence, using faith to justify killing. Perfect ideological operation, where religious duty disguises massacre, where pilgrimage masks murder, where sacred becomes cover for profane. Welcome to legitimate protest you cannot see, where constitutional rights exist in theory, where government recognizes concerns, where admission of failure is real. But internet is cut, militias are imported, hospitals are raided, wounded are arrested, deaths are multiplying. And all of this is legitimate, all of this is legal, all of this is government's right to protect security, to defend sovereignty, to maintain order. Your protest is constitution, and we will kill you, and we will ignore them. Your rights are recognized, and we will suspend them. This is not contradiction, is system. Is how power acknowledges dissent to justify crushing it. How recognition becomes preparation, how understanding becomes violence. Iran says protest is your right, and we have right to kill you for exercising it. Both rights exist, both are valid, and violence continues. 36 dead, 40 dead, numbers keep rising. Under internet blackout, under foreign militia suppression, under government that recognized your legitimate demands, while preparing to answer them with bullets. This is the protest you cannot see, cannot document, cannot coordinate, cannot survive. Welcome to recognition without change, to rights without protection, to legitimate demands answered with deadly force. This is how power operates when it can no longer govern, when it can only kill, when only tool left is violence, dressed in language of understanding, covered by admission of failure, justified by external threat. Iran's government says, we failed you, we understand, we recognize, and then cuts internet, imports militias, raids hospitals, and kills the legitimate protest you cannot see, the constitutional rights you cannot exercise, the recognized demands you cannot survive. This is ideology at work, where every recognition is trap, where every admission prepares violence, where every right leads to death.